If you've been following along with my videos, my last two chicken coop videos, you know that I've been trying to start a compost pile. Yesterday, I cut an apple up for the pig, and these are the scraps from that. I have orange peel scraps. We went ahead and rinsed out some eggshells, from what we used for breakfast. And then if you all know me, you know I'm a big tea drinker. So these are my used tea leaves. Something I need to mention, that before I put these eggs into the compost pile, I actually need to break them up really well into little tiny pieces. If not, supposedly the chickens will get used to eating the eggs whole like this, eating the eggshells whole, and then they'll want to eat their baby shells, which will not be good. This is what everything is looking like right now. Please excuse the background noise. The children are still in school. Looking good, looking good. If you have any suggestions or ideas on what I could use for a kitchen countertop bin, I would really appreciate those thoughts and ideas. This is what I'm using so far, so we'll see how it goes. There are some basic things that you're going to need when you're composting. You're going to need some greens, you're going to need some browns, which basically means woods and grasses, clippings. So we had a windstorm not that long ago, and we had all these all these branches from this tree that fell off. So I can go ahead and break those down, or actually Papa can break those down, and we can add that to the compost pile as part of our browns. Cardboard can be part of your browns. Any hay can be part of your browns. Your greens are going to be things like plants, clippings from the lawn, things like that. But you don't want to use any diseased plants. That won't be good if you do that. You don't want to use any medications. So what I'm going to do is basically bury these scraps. Here's our pile that we've already made or started making. And I'm going to put the scraps that I just got underneath. And hopefully that will keep animals away. And this is what it looks like with all the stuff on top of it. Now we will eventually be building a compost bin, but this is where we're starting out right now. You don't want to put any meat, fish, bones, none of that in there. Okay, some composting do's. You do want to use some vegetable clippings. I'm just going to be using raw vegetables. I don't want to use anything cooked because I don't want it to get too soggy and slimy. You can also use clippings to mix into those vegetables, but you have to be careful with the clippings because they get compact. And when you have your compost pile, you want some air to flow through the compost pile. So you're going to want to keep the compost pile damp, but not soggy. So if it gets wet, you're going to want to mix it around so that some of that wetness can dry up a bit. We're planning on building a compost bin. We're not there yet, but we are starting to get our scraps and stuff together in the pile that I just showed you. If you are adding food scraps to your compost pile, make sure you put that underneath your pile so that it doesn't start attracting rodents. For your browns, you're going to want things like leaves, and you have to be careful with the leaves because you don't want to gather up all your leaves from the yard and then put them in the pile. The leaves tend to decompose slower than everything else, so you got to be careful with that. Mix it in real well. It also includes pine needles, cardboard, twigs, and branches, which we have had, like I said, a lot of stuff falling around the property because of all the strong wind lately. So we're getting a lot of brown. You can use things like dryer lint. Who knew? You can use pine cones and napkins. You can use used paper and coffee filters. Wood chips. Now be careful with the type of paper that you use. Do not use colored paper or shiny paper. You could put weeds in your compost pile. Be careful with any plants you put in the pile. Make sure they're not diseased. Make sure there's not a bunch of pesticides on them. Be very careful with that. I don't think we're going to be doing that because I don't want to have to worry about all that. You could put in stale bread, and you could put in cooked plain rice and pasta. Some of my research that I've been doing on the do's and don'ts of composting they have conflicting ideas and conflicting rules on composting. Some things say it's okay to use meat and bones. Others say do not use meat and bones and to avoid them. So that is one thing. I will just make things easy for myself, and I will just avoid using those. There's even some things that say don't use pasta. I'm definitely going to stay away from the meats. I'm going to stay away from the dairies. I want to stay away from any cooked foods. If I have sauces that I made, I'm just not even going to dump all that in there. I'm going to use my raw materials. You for sure want to stay away from any greasy foods or fatty foods, any oils that you've cooked with, any oils, period. You want to stay away from that. Believe it or not, there are some troubleshooting techniques you can use with composting. Just look for whatever's happening with your compost. Is it not getting hot enough? Is there insects starting to roam around it? Are rodents getting into it? Is there a weird rancid smell coming from it? Just look it up and you'll be able to find things to troubleshoot your compost pile with. So the eggshells that I've already put into the compost pile, those are going to be good for calcium as well as other key nutrients. Whenever I add the citrus peels to my compost pile, those are going to be really good for nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. The tea leaves are going to create a really good natural fertilizer. They're going to be high in nitrogen. They're going to help balance out any carbon-rich material. The chickens and the compost pile will be good to go together. The chickens will not only pick at the bugs that will get in your compost pile, but they will also scratch your compost pile, which starts to mix it up for you naturally. So it's like a win-win. In my last video, I did mention that one of the birds was having trouble with its legs. I went ahead and gave it some electrolytes and vitamins in its water, and now it's doing fine. She's doing fine. We also had one that started to limp around as well, a golden, and with the vitamins and electrolytes in there, she started drinking some of that, and then she got better as well. So I guess the lady was right about that's what the problem was. I'm gonna head out to the feed store. I'm gonna get some more chick vitamins. I'm also gonna get something called No Mo Peck, because they're doing like this whole pecking order. That one is Roadrunner, and they've been pecking at him. So this No Mo Peck is supposed to be something that I can rub onto the chicken, onto the chick on the back of it, and it gives the other chickens a bad taste in their mouth when they peck him. So that's what we'll be getting for her. I'm also going to see if I can find a animal-friendly disinfectant and animal-friendly bug killer, because I don't want ants in the yard because they have all this food and stuff that they're dropping. I also don't want bugs to start accumulating in the shed. So I want to try to make sure we're rid of all of that and it doesn't start bothering them. The mosquitoes are starting to pop out, which I noticed are starting to buzz around the piglet, which we don't want either. Another thing I would like to add is the piglet is actually starting to eat her pellets. She's been following the bunny around. So whatever the bunny tends to do is what she wants to do. If the bunny starts eating, then the piglet's starting to eat. So that's a good sign right there. There she goes, following her along. That's her big sister and companion. And I did sex the piglet. Turns out it's super duper easy. We've seen the evidence all this time and didn't even know it. And she is in fact another girl. story of Papa's life. Okay, earlier I said no more peck. Well, it's actually pick no more. I was told it was called no mo peck, but it's actually pick no more. The directions say shake well before using, remove the cap and invert the bottle and squeeze, spreading the lotion on the targeted area with the tip of the applicator. Note, game birds may require more frequent applications. Now that we have the pig, I needed an extra bucket for the pig food. So we have chicken food, pig food, rabbit food. We have 2 for rabbit because the bag was so big, I needed 2. And then this is extra storage stuff right here. All the stuff we'll need for them. Their supplements, the no grit or the chick grit, treats and whatnot. Just protecting it from the elements in a cheap way. I did not expect it to look like this at all. This is like Gooby gone. Okay, hopefully it works. So I'm very pleased to report that all the chicks are doing well right now. Everybody's standing on their own accord. Nobody needs any help. So I guess they did need supplements. And I went to the store today, got them some extra supplements. I already put that in the water. So that's what's going on. So she's eating. Woo woo. And I'm gonna try to only have her food in the kennel so that she gets used to her kennel even more. That becomes her safe place. We have been putting the bunny back in her hutch at night. She did escape, so we're just keeping her in there, and she seems to enjoy it actually. She'll go in there and she just relaxes, so we're just creating these safe places for them, their own personal space, so they'll want to be in there when we want them in there. Oh, so cute. Good girl. Good job eating your food. Oh, you were thirsty, weren't you?